Hello everybody, my name is TheTacticalBrit and today we're going to be taking a look at streaming on gaming.youtube.com. Now YouTube Gaming launched recently and everybody's been asking me how I've been streaming on the platform, more specifically what settings I'm using. Now today we're going to go over absolutely everything from the bare beginners of streamers to the most elite of streamers. And before we begin I need you to do two things. I need you to go to obsproject.com/download because that's the software we're going to be using, and go to speedtest.net to test your internet connection and keep those numbers because I'll explain what they're used for later. Now we're going to go over the OBS settings, the scene settings, adding overlays, and your live YouTube dashboard settings. Now if you have streamed before, I'm going to leave some time frames in the description below so you guys can skip ahead to the settings that matter to you, but if you're brand new to streaming or perhaps need some reminding as to the settings that you need to use, this is the place to directly start. Now before we begin, there's some fundamentals of streaming you need to understand and some things which may prevent you or limit you from streaming yourself. And as you can see on the screen here in my notes page, I have a recommended settings category. So we're going to start off with console streamers, people who want to stream PS4 or Xbox One for example. And you're going to need a second generation i5 CPU or equivalent for 720p, or a second generation i7 CPU or equivalent for 1080p. You're also going to need a GeForce or Radeon class graphics adapter with a minimum DirectX 10.1, and if you're on a budget but want to start streaming, I strongly recommend the 750 Ti or equivalent, which will basically be a very low budget card but will do what you need it to do. Now you need 4 gigs of RAM and 8 gigs of HDD space, and of course a console capture card, such as the Elgato HD60 or the variants of Ava Media cards, and of course all of these come in an optimal 60 to 30 frames per second, and you need to make sure that your PC will both handle streaming and also handle the requirements of the capture card at the same time. Now you may notice that these specifications are quite low, and the reason because of that is quite frankly that the capture cards that you're buying to stream on console will actually handle the encoding of your stream mostly on the card. There's not much workload being directed towards your processor and your graphics card on your PC. As you can see, I'm running an i7 4790K with a NVIDIA GeForce GTX 970, and you can check your specs using the same software that I just used, which is in the description below. Now, for streaming PC games, things get a lot more higher end. You're going to need at least a 4th generation i5 or equivalent for 720p, and a 4th generation i7 or equivalent for 1080p. You're also going to need a NVIDIA or AMD GPU with DirectX 11 support, and at least I'd say a 960 or equivalent with 8 gigs of RAM. Now these statistics may vary depending on the game you're playing, but you have to understand that you're going to be handling the workload of encoding the stream and also playing your game, so all of those processes combined, which is going to be very much tested for your CPU and GPU setup. And of course the lower end games you play, the less hassle it should be, and the higher end games you play, the more hard it will be. Some people will even build separate stream PCs so they can stream in 1080p 60 FPS without any problems. And you also have to understand as well that PC capture cards actually give you no performance increase because the encoding is still being done by your CPU. Now we're going to take a look at the network settings, and you need to go to speedtest.net and run a connection test to see the internet you have. And you're going to have to keep those numbers handy with you to understand what you're going to be able to stream with your upload speed. So your upload speed determines how much you can stream and whether or not you'll be able to stably support an outgoing stream. And 1 Mbps, which we will say on the speed test, is the equivalent of 1000 kbps. So for example, my internet connection is 100 Mbps down and 20 Mbps up, but when I run the speed test, it's roughly 80 down and 17 up. Now this is the internet connection required for you to stream directly onto YouTube Gaming for different resolutions and frame rates. And as you can see, I've also put to the side a recommended connection speed, bearing in mind that you're going to have outgoing uploads as well as your own stream. Now as you can see, the highest setting is of course 1080p 60 FPS and the lowest is 480p in terms of requirements. Now Although it says a maximum 9,000 and minimum 4,500, anywhere floating around the recommended mark should be able to optimally output your stream. So your resolution and frame rate is going to require some kind of tweaking should you not be able to stream based on your internet connection. And you can see on the right side where I've put my recommended settings, I've added about, say, a 1 Mbps difference to make sure you can account for a stable stream. Now we're going to take a look at OBS, which is the software that you're going to be using to stream directly to YouTube gaming, and it probably is, in my personal opinion, the best software for streaming on YouTube. Now, we're going to have a look at the scenes later and the sources that you can see below, but we're going to start off with the basic settings. And as you can see, you can set profiles if you want to have variance between PC streaming and console streaming, which is what I do quite frequently. Now, you don't have to really mess around with anything on the first page. It's just the general page and it's not much important. But when it comes to the encoding page, this is where things start to get interesting. Now, you can see your max bitrate, which is in kbs. Now, it's what I discussed earlier. 1 Mbps equals 1000 kbps. And as you can see, I want to stream in 1080p 60 fps, and the recommended is 6800, but I'm going to put it in around 8000 kbps to account for any other uploads on my internet connection, as well as the fact that I just want it to be stable without pushing my internet connection too far. Now, you have to remember as well, the kbps you put there is also what people on the other end of the stream is downloading. So if you put it too high, some people might not be able to watch it. Now, when you go to your broadcast settings, you should go to live stream, of course, and not file output. And I personally recommend going to custom as opposed to YouTube on OBS software. Now, you need to open your Google Live dashboard for streaming, and we'll look at this a bit later in more detail, but you need details such as the encoder setup here. And it will give you the server URL, which will be different for everybody, and you also have a stream name or key, which of course I'm not going to reveal on this video because that is private information, and make sure you never give out your stream key to anybody or they'll be able to stream on your channel. So make sure when you're live streaming, you don't accidentally reveal your stream key. That could be a huge problem for you and cause some situations in the future. Now we're going to have a look at the video settings, and you can see my onboard 970 is being detected at a baseline resolution of 1080p. And this is where you select the resolution you want your stream to display. You should always leave it as your basic output on your normal monitor, but when it comes to the actual encoding output, resolution downscale is where you want to look. If you want to stream in 720p, you need a 1.50 downscale to 720p, and therefore it will be less taxing on your hardware. And of course it will be less taxing on your internet connection as well. And you can also bump up the frame rate. Now, I personally recommend if you're streaming on a dedicated PC for gaming or streaming console that you keep these things different. So I like to stream 1080p 60 fps for console because my capture card is doing the encoding, but I like to stream at 720 60 fps for PC games so it's less taxing on my system. Now, in the audio settings here, you just have to select your default microphone and desktop audio. It's nothing too major. And as we move on here, you have hotkeys as well, so you can assign keys to different various actions such as muting your microphone, muting your desktop, or anything that you want to do. Or say, for example, if you want to stop your stream with a single keyboard press, that is also an available option. So feel free to mess around with these and make your stream as efficient as you want it to be. Now, I haven't done these yet because I haven't really had the time to, but I definitely will in the future. Now, this advanced page is where things get interesting. Now, there's a lot of information on this page, but we're going to go through it bit by bit. First of all, you're going to want to make sure that use of multi-thread optimizations is enabled for anybody with an i5 or i7 4th gen or equivalent, and even some of the older generations as well. You'll have multi-threaded optimizations to help your stream. Normal class priority when it comes to how much you're processing. You don't really want to mess around with that, and most of those settings should stay the same. Now, your X264 CPU preset is where things are based on your system. Now, very fast is the standard encoding, and as you go up to ultra fast, that is if you have a weaker CPU, and slower if you have a hardcore per se i7 5960X 6-core processor or something ridiculous like that. Now, I would strongly not recommend going outside of faster or fast even. Just stick in and around very fast and you should be fine. And if you have a weaker CPU, try ultra fast or super fast. Now you want to put your keyframe interval to 4, which is the optimal setting for YouTube gaming, and any of the settings below, honestly, you don't need to mess around with. And feel free to pause the page and look at my settings and adopt them accordingly. Now we're going to take a quick look at the scene settings for both console users and PC users who want to stream. So I'm going to make a quick scene here called, I don't know, YouTube Gaming 1 or something in and along the lines of that. And we're going to have a quick look at some of the settings that I use for console streaming first. Now, I'm going to enable a preview stream here, and as you can see, at the moment it's just a blank screen. There is nothing that's going to be outputted to my channel. And the first thing I'm going to want to do is add a video capture device for my console stream. Now, I want it to output the display of my Xbox One or PS4, and in my case PS4, so I add a video capture device, and here you'll see your capture card listed. In my case, the Elgato Game Capture HD 60 FPS, but of course lots of you guys will have varying cards, and you don't really need to mess around with anything here, but I do recommend sliding the audio down to roughly 38%, which will be a good adequate amount for your voice to go over in terms of your microphone to game sound comparison. So that tends to be a nice kind of sweet spot for capture cards, around 38 to maybe 45% depending on the loudness of your microphone. So as I re-enable my preview here, you should see that my PS4 initializes, the capture card's all ready to go, and the PS4 is available on stream. And that's all well and good, but some of you will want to probably add some branding to your stream. And branding is a good way of showing your channel's characteristics, and it's a huge part of everything that you will do on YouTube. And I have a banner preset already to add to my sources, but some of you can go ahead and jump into like Paint, or some of you own Photoshop, and create your own kind of branding to add to the stream. Now when it comes to adding an overlay to your stream, I try to make it not intrusive. As you can see, it kind of just slots in at the bottom there. Some people like to put it at the top, but it's not in anybody's way. It wouldn't cause any hassle, and if you looked at it, it wouldn't be a problem. And make sure order-wise that your overlay is above your stream output. So you want your overlay to be above your PS4 or Xbox One or any console capture card that you have, so it actually appears on screen. We're also going to take a quick look now at a neat little trick which will allow you to overlay your chat on the stream, and this will work for PS4 and PC streamers and Xbox One streamers. Any kind of stream this will work for. It doesn't matter what platform you're using. So you're going to want to go to your stream URL, and I've taken the one from my old YouTube gaming stream, and you're going to want to increase the zoom page to 150% and snap it to the side of your Windows screen. So make it half of the screen at 150%. And as you can see, the most potent piece of information here is of course the chat. It's the largest thing on the screen now. And we're going to add this chat to the stream in a way which it doesn't get in the way of your stream, but also looks pretty cool. So when your stream is actually outputted onto YouTube and it exports as a normal video, you won't just be talking to yourself. People will actually understand that there are people asking you questions and things like that. So we're going to go to window capture here, and you don't really have to mess around with any setting except for sub-region. You click sub-region, clicked select region, and as you can see, this grayed out box appears. Now you need to drag this grayed out box to your chat and crop it in and around your chat so it doesn't look weird but fits quite nicely. I like to put mine on the outside of their icons, but make sure it isn't in the way of my own chat bar, or for example in the way of the scroll bar on the right, because it can look really derpy. So just make sure it's nicely aligned on the inside of your chat, and it looks really good once you get this going. Now, once you have that cropped in and everything looks fine and you're happy with how it looks, you're going to want to press Use Color key. You're then going to press Select, hold down Select, and drag the color drop all the way onto the darkest color there, and hit OK. And now, as you can see on OBS, your chat has been overlaid onto your stream as a chroma key overlay, and that means that it has no background and will not get in the way as some kind of blocky image, and it means that you can have your stream available in the corner of your screen or in the top right corner, wherever you feel necessary, and have it as big as small as you want. And you can mess around with this a lot, but it's a nice way of having your stream available after you've streamed as a video with people understanding what you're talking about. So for example, if I'm streaming, I don't know, recently Black Ops 3, people were asking me questions about the beta. If I didn't have the chat on screen, people would be confused in the future when they watch the video playback as to what the hell I'm talking about. So this is why it's quite important to add this onto your stream. Now you may also opt as well to make your chat smaller or larger based on how you feel, and I tend to think that the less clutter there, the more people like it. And one thing that you may notice as well is that if you're having trouble reading the text on the background of the game, so for example the white text can be quite difficult to read on light backgrounds, you can add a little bit more channel art. So for example, where my overlay is now, I could add maybe a rectangular corner which isn't too intrusive but has a small enough box for people to be able to read the chat and make sure that it's, you know, not causing any trouble. At the same time, you want people to be able to read your chat, but you don't want your chat to be obsolete because nobody can actually see it on the background of the game. So the basic principle here is to mess around with this overlay thing as much as you can, and in the end you should get something which looks pretty badass and something which will work quite well for your future stream outputs as videos, and also for people who want to have a bit more of a professional feel. Now we're going to take a quick look at PC gaming, and it's basically the same thing. It's no different. Now I'm actually just going to copy and paste the scene. There's no point of me adding an entire new window capture, overlay. It's just no point. So just copy and paste your scene, and the only difference you have to make is delete the video capture device and add a game capture. And the game capture will apply to any application that you have open, and when I'm playing a game like Battlefield 4, it'll probably be the first one on the list. Hit Battlefield 4 or any game that you happen to be playing, hit OK, and then fit to screen, job done. It will be available exactly like the normal console stream, just the only difference being that it requires a lot more power and hardware to process and stream both the game itself and all of the GPU and CPU usage that has, and the encoding of OBS, which normally would be somewhat offloaded to a console capture card, but won't be the case now. Now obviously I haven't got any games open, so the screen's just going to appear black, and that's just how it is for now. But eventually, if I were to play Battlefield 4 in the future, it would just be a simple case of select Battlefield 4, job done, start the stream, easy as that, just ready to go as normal. Now we're going to take a look at the live dashboard. There's lots of things you can do on your live dashboard, and it can look somewhat intimidating at the start, but I'll explain every single bit that you have available here and what implications it has on your stream. So first and foremost, we have all of your quality sliders in your stream itself, and I would strongly recommend when you start streaming to pause the video which is on screen, because that's more encoding for your CPU that you don't need. I'd use it just a little bit to make sure that your stream looks okay, but then once you know that your stream's looking good, just pause that video so no extra encoding is being forced upon your CPU, which you really don't want. Now to the right here we've got our chat, and below we've got some options and settings for your stream. And the first one is change thumbnail. And change thumbnail, I already have one available. So your normal thumbnail that you'd put up for a video, you can actually assign to a stream as well. And I've already got one pre-prepared for a Black Ops 3 stream here, and it just says Black Ops 3 stream with my normal branding in my normal thumbnail style. And once it's updated, hit refresh, and as you can see, the thumbnail appears on screen, which is a really nice feature. And when your stream is outputted as a video and processed later, people in your sub box will see that thumbnail too. So in the basic info, this will be the title of your stream. So for this, I'm just going to put something like, I don't know, YouTube gaming test or Black Ops 3 stream or whatever you're doing. And I think the more convincing a title you have, the better kind of viewership you'll have. So I'd say put something quite simplistic and nothing too difficult. You also have basic info such as your description, and I was recently streaming with a YouTuber called Westy, so I included his channel in the description below for that stream. But for this one, I'll just say for my YouTube test stuff, I'll put showing people how to stream on YouTube gaming. And it's pretty, simplistic. This is your description when your video is outputted later, and it's also your description for the stream when people come in and pop by. And obviously in the gaming category, for YouTube gaming, there is only one option. You're not going to be streaming anything like lifestyle for YouTube gaming. That wouldn't make sense. Now here we have the recommended name title, and you have to select a title for your game to get more viewership and make sure people know exactly what you're playing. And you'll notice on YouTube Gaming, it will say now next to a video the title that they are playing in a small screen, which is pretty cool. In the advanced settings, you can add a custom message to your subscribers or anybody who follows you on social media, and you can just paste in any old message. It will get outputted onto your social media when you do go live, and everybody will be able to see it. And you'll also be able to add tags for, again, your future video export. Now, the advanced settings isn't that important if you're just doing a quick stream, so don't worry about it too much. You have stream options such as optimizations and enabling DVR, which means that people will be able to go backwards in your stream and start watching from the beginning, and you can make your archive private when it's done. Now, I'd recommend this because when your stream exports as a video, it doesn't process to the native resolution straight away, so you're going to want to keep that as private and then upload it fully later or make it public or unlisted later based on what you want to do. Now, for stream optimizations, you can also optimize for less viewer buffering, and you can also add a delay to stop people stream sniping if you're playing a game like, I don't know, H1Z1 or a survival kind of game. You have monetization settings, which I don't tend to do because I'm quite a small channel, so I don't feel it necessary to spam anybody with ads. So you can actually turn that off. For some people though, based on contracts and other bits and pieces here and there, that might be a setting which they have to use or need to use. So if somebody plays ads, don't be too annoyed, but at the same time, you know, you don't have to play ads if you don't need to. You can add cards to your streams as well, which I thought was really cool. And I was playing with Westy earlier, like I mentioned, so I'm going to throw his card in the stream. So I'm going to put his channel available on stream, so when everybody comes on to my stream and watches it, the card will appear and it will say, Westy is here, subscribe to Westy, or here's a message. So I'm going to say a custom message, subscribe to Mr. Pro Westy, or something along the lines of that. And that card will appear on stream, and you can do this for absolutely anything. You can do this for charity donations or charity streams. You could do it for merchandise you're selling. It's really broad, and it has quite a large spectrum of opportunity that you could throw in as a card. And obviously you don't want to put too many in there, but if you have something which is quite important, like, I don't know, some kind of social media announcement or some kind of donation page going on, you can add a card which will be quite useful. And I do believe it shows up for mobile viewers as well, which is also quite a nice touch. So people viewing on YouTube Gaming's app and YouTube Gaming's desktop will be able to see this stream. So that's it for your basic settings. On your chat now, we're going to have a quick look at, and you can see that people are allocated specific colors. Now, the owner is given yellow and a crown, and moderators will be given blue and some kind of like wrench in the corner of their name to show that they are a moderator. You can flag people's comments, remove them, report profile image, report message, block user, put user in timeout, and also set user as a moderator. So essentially you can add any users that you feel necessary as a moderator, or perhaps I suggest somebody you trust or a friend that you know, because you don't want anybody just moderating your channel. And also, if there's any kind of shenanigans going on in your chat that you don't necessarily want, so, you know, any kind of behavior that you don't feel is right, you can also delete the comments. And I'd say be fair, but have a firm hand at the same time, and don't tolerate anything which is ridiculous. And you also have your emoticons and all that basic stuff as well. One thing I should mention is that the chat has the filtration system of your normal videos. So if you have your comments filtered for things like, I don't know, bad words or URLs and things like that, your chat will filter it out. Unfortunately, at the moment though, it still filters out moderators. So if a moderator posts a link and you already have the filtered out URL, it actually won't appear. So probably something which may need changing in the future. And as you can see there, I've also added Westy as a moderator just to show you how that's done. It can be done in very numerous ways, such as selecting their name on the side, but it can also be done manually when you're off stream. You also have your analytics here, which will show you how many people are watching and the amount of messages per minute, which is quite good for keeping a live track of how many people are interested in the game you're playing and how engaged your stream is as well. The stream health subbar will also tell you certain things which may be right or wrong with your stream. And this top left bit here with the empty dot will go red if something's wrong, yellow if there's a slight problem, and green if your stream is fully healthy with no problems whatsoever. Sometimes it can pop up quite randomly, so don't be too worried if it's just like the occasional bleep of yellow, but if it contains like a specific yellow for a long time, so if it's yellow for a really long period of time, then you're going to have to look at your OBS settings and adjust accordingly. It will give you an error such as your audio encoding is too high, or not enough bitrate is traveling through, so there's something wrong with your internet, or perhaps the stream is lagging quite significantly, so you need to check your connection. We're also going to move on to events now, and this is quite a nice way of scheduling streams before they happen. So I'm going to go ahead here and actually schedule an event, and I'm going to call it, I don't know, it's just something particularly random, like YouTube gaming jazz, I don't know, just something like that. And you can select any date for this stream to occur. I would recommend keeping it quite close though, and I'll explain why. Basically, when you actually schedule an event, people who are subscribed to you will get a notification on their phones, their desktops, or their emails saying this person has gone live. But obviously you haven't gone live, and when they press on it, it will say this person is going live at specific date, specific time. So it's a nice way of gathering, I don't know, some kind of pre-hype for your stream. So that's an option, but I'd say keep it within about a day or two. You don't want your notification to be too spammy and a bit out there. You also have your monetization and your normal stuff that you have whenever you upload a normal YouTube video. The most important one here, I'd say, is age restriction. So of course, if you're streaming something which is, shall we say, 18 plus, you know, just add an age restriction. It's something really minor that can stop a lot of hassle, and you know what some kids and parents are like, you know, just do it, you know, add an age restriction if you're swearing and stuff. It's just there, I guess, as a nice little touch for any kind of parental thing. And I suppose it helps as well for the community. I mean, we have a lot of kids watching YouTube these days, and a lot of kids will be watching YouTube gaming as well. So, you know, there's a broad young audience. So, of course, be considerate and keep in mind who your viewership is. Now, I already have a stream pre-scheduled, as you can see there, which is happening today. Don't ask why I recorded this at 2 AM. I just did. I don't know. I felt like going full YOLO in the morning and just like, yep, let's get this done. And you can see it's quite nice. You know, everything's ready and prepared for me to go live with the scenes that I have available now. Now, my final thing that I would recommend for anybody who's having problems with streaming is to keep an eye on your OBS status as well. So do some preview streams, as you can see in the corner. And when you're done with a preview stream, go ahead and check the yellow indicator below, which will show you whether or not your internet connection is causing some trouble, or perhaps maybe your hardware encoding is having issues. So you may need to lower and adjust some internet or encoding settings to kind of get around these things. So guys, that's it for my YouTube gaming streaming guide today. Now, if you have absolutely any questions, anything regarding streaming, or problems that you're having, or things that you're worried or curious about, just let me know in the comments below. I will reply to as many of them as I physically can. And if you have any strange errors, there's also lots of places such as the OBS forums which will be happy to help you. But of course, send me a message. I also have my email available in my channel description as well. So just any problems you have, get in touch and I'll try and help you out as much as I can. And as always, guys, thank you for watching, and go to youtube.gaming, or just go to normal YouTube, hit that subscribe button, and I will see you again very soon with some more guides. This might be something I do a bit more frequently to help people out and get them off the ground with things like streaming and recording, so hopefully a prospect that we can look forward to in the future. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you again soon in another video.